Look at my shine with the glow. This is my time with it though. This is my time to be way at the top. Me and my guys gon' pay out the block. I don't look like walls, time's right. And I know the sea is walking in a limelight. Promise you gon' wanna watch like a sci-fi. My guys are high risers, high tide. My crown if you come to my side. I pledge allegiance for lifetime. My squad connected like Wi-Fi. We grind and you see the highlights. This my life. It ain't a game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Game now, me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way, you wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
Came from the darkest regions, wrapped in a cloak of light. Minus some focus heights, I'm trying to get my opus right. Throw my doubts aside, I climb the mountainside. And when I reach the peak, the view I see will not be fly. Feel the pressure, but it's relative to the man I measured. No time for hesitation, finally time to step up. And when you're feeling deep in your bones and your zone, you're fed up. You're close to the glass ceiling, keep your head up. See your dreams as a goal, that's how I'm seeing mine. Achieve my full potential, let all of the demons pre my shine.
I hang on every word you say. Don't wanna crash and burn or drive you away. I hang on every word you say. Don't wanna crash and burn or drive you away.
The blueprint, my philosophy is more than some long talking, it's embodied in the movement. Stepping the gears up, leaving them stuck in the rear. What? I move at a million miles an hour, the power is fruit with the fearless. Them gems are serious, I handle my business imperious. Yo, I'm a fireman, some flames for all deleterious. Sent from the most high and anointed with oils various. Come bring is scariest, emotion stoic, I'm airy then. Now it's time to roll, I chant the Gideon's chant and keep the most high close to my heart and then I go.
I hang on every word you say. Don't wanna crash and burn or drive you away.
Tonight on Countdown to Green, we talk with the drivers of William Byron Esports. We look back at all the mayhem of Talladega. We take a look at what you're driving at home in the Logitech G Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
'Cause we're invincible.
Hello and welcome to Countdown to Green. I'm Phil Salazar-Hadaway, your host, and joining me as always, we have Alan Cavana and Blake McCandless, and we are here, the second last race of this year. How are you two feeling?
Feeling great. We fill out the championship four. It all comes down to tonight before we find out who will race for that championship, and we're going to a great track, Blake, one that really tests strategy and the driver ability.
I was about to say, Alan, we've settled a lot of championships here at NASCAR before, but there's not many mile-and-a-half tracks that you can think of that can provide a better race than Homestead-Miami tonight. So interesting to see how these next-gen cars tackle it, but I think it'll be a great show.
Well, you both said it. We're rounding out the final four, and we're on a great track. But before we look ahead, we got to look back at Talladega.
Round number 2 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. The field will work into the purview of Barney the flagman to wave the green flag, and we are underway for the Logitech 200. A couple more are down. Donovan Strauss, Briar LaPrade, Colin Bowden, several more. It's about 10 or so, at least in this round of stops, that elect to make their way in. Caution is out. There it is. The wreck that happens. Femi Olot is involved. Liam Brotherton gets involved. Dylan Duvall, hard impact with the outside retaining wall. Big crash in the back of the field. Nick Shelton. Mitchell DeYoung is involved, a playoff driver. So is Femi Olot. Bose spins into the outside wall. Nick Ottinger, playoff driver, is involved. Jimmy Mullis, Brian Mercurio, sadly for Steve. Wreck further back in the pack, Logan Clampett, Parker Retzlaff, and a number of others scattering here in the trioval. Guest Malik Ray, your top two as they approach the Geico restart zone. Both looking for their first career eNASCAR win. Green flag is out, 2 to go here at Talladega. Kerwin goes down to the bottom. They touch once, twice, 3 times, and at the line, I believe Bobby Zielinski wins it. Bobby Zielinski is headed to Phoenix, and you can see the reaction as he wins by 24 one-thousandths of a second.
And that is the race of, that you want it, the face you want to see of the winner, right?
Absolutely, and I'm telling you, I love seeing that reaction from Bobby Zielinski as he found out he won. And this is the payoff here, Alan, that he is right here in the championship four. He has nothing to worry about tonight, but for these 9 other drivers, they are still looking to fill out the rest of that grid here tonight to try to move forward to Phoenix and compete in that championship four live at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And this is kind of the backside of this battle when we're looking at these playoff standings. Whether they can get in and stay in the top 20 in this series and face relegation. You can see the cut line right there. Still very hotly contested, and still Keegan Leahy, Ray Alfala, two accomplished champions in this esport, still on the outside looking in.
And we can't forget about the team side of it all as well. The team standings even more hotly contested. Look at the standings there. The top 3 teams separated by just 12 points with 2 races to go. So much pride, some money on the line here. And one thing we can't forget, the 2 drivers in Jim Beaver Esports, they are not in the playoffs, but they still together have the team lead right now in the standings. That's going to come down to maybe the final lap out in Phoenix. I can't wait for that.
I mean, I feel like our drivers can't wait. We saw that last race that they are very anxious to kind of get it over with because they just have so much energy they want to put out there on the track. And it's really interesting how Talladega went down. Give me your thoughts, Blake, on what we saw.
Oh, certainly so. I think these drivers have hope, Camille. I think that's for anybody that's either in or outside of the playoffs right now. We saw Colin Bowden, of course, in that battle last week. He had hope that he could go out there and still win a race, even though he's well back in the points right now. But, of course, for the rest of these drivers, there are 9 drivers that are still looking for 3 spots. It doesn't matter how Bristol went, how Talladega went. You still have the opportunity that if you win here tonight, you could be moving forward. So I think that's the message here, Alan, that there's still hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel for these championship drivers.
There is some light there, but it's now or never, right? We have to look on the other side of that coin. I'm thinking for a driver like Steven Wilson, who we've been shouting out rightly this whole season. Talladega was not kind to him, but the season can go to a waste if he doesn't mix it up tonight and possibly get the win or race his way back to the championship 4. If it all comes back to Talladega, that one's just going to sting because it can be a waste of the season. The 3 wins, everything you're going for. If Talladega ends up costing you, he's got to do it tonight.
Yeah, it's crazy. We look at the whole series in the year, and we had those clear leaders. And the championship's just like, forget all about that. It's anyone's game now. And there's so much excitement, I feel like we have, obviously, watching it very closely. But also the fans have expressed that as well. For these drivers going in and seeing the results come out like this, how do you think they're feeling, Blake?
I think that's part of it, Camille, is just that they are feeling the pressure right now because there's just no time left. I mean, we opened it up with the show that it comes down to tonight. There's just no time left for these drivers to be able to get it done.
And one of the things that we get to do is actually speak to the drivers. Alan, we have to talk to William Byron Esports, their drivers. I believe you have Logan Clampett waiting.
Yeah, we do. We were talking about running out of time or little time left. Logan Clampett, our friend, says he's going to retire at the end of the season. So, Logan, appreciate you getting the time now. I want to know what your favorite memory is from this series and all you've accomplished.
There are a lot of different moments that come to mind that I've just been very thankful for. As a kid, I really ultimately thought about, it would be like super cool, like meeting a NASCAR driver, like going into the garages and stuff like that. I mean, you hear all these like other NASCAR drivers here say like, I want to be a NASCAR driver. Like some of us can't really afford to go into real life racing. So I feel like accomplishing that dream, even if it's virtual. I never expected to have a fan base or thousands of people knowing me. Like for example, a few months ago, a guy came up to me at the gym and asked me, "Hey man, are you Logan Clampett? Oh, I watch you on iRacing." It's such a cool moment that I never thought that would happen. It doesn't seem that big to some people because some people do think of this as just a video game or whatever. But this has changed my life a lot. I've gotten to do some really awesome things in my life, like traveling and making really good friends with people over the years and meeting these NASCAR drivers and getting into the garages. I remember when I was living in North Carolina, I would help Dale out with a few things. And I remember during media day, Denny invited us over to his house. It's just like I'm that 0.01% of NASCAR fans that get to do those kinds of things. Inside the series, you know, that first win, it was cool, it was big, but the series wasn't as big as it is today, and it was a special moment, but I didn't realize how special of a moment it was, I guess. So I'd say, you know, being able to break a 44 race winless streak last year at Atlanta was a very big moment, because it was only my third win. I've gotten a lot of top 5s, top 10s, and I've been consistent in the series. And I've gotten two second place finishes in the championship. But only 3 wins. You know, we haven't gotten many wins. So wins are very hard to come along for me. So getting that win with Team Conti, with William Byron Esports, and I was away from my family at the time. And it was a very emotional, but it was a very, very big win for me. I'd probably say inside the series, that is definitely my biggest moment. I'd say outside the series, it's kind of a combination of just making all these great friends and, you know, going on all these adventures and experiencing things I never thought I'd experience pertaining to NASCAR, and, you know, creating these relationships with drivers like William, Dale, and Denny, for example. You know, 3 very, very big names. So it's just kind of a combination, you know, of all those things. And, you know, over 7 years, it's, you know, there could be many big moments. It's definitely not just one. You know, I remember entering iRacing, and in 2013, I just wanted to have fun and race with people online. You know, I remember racing with people on the Wii, or not people, AI on the Wii. You know, I just wanted to race with real people and have fun. And, you know, I never really expected to get all of this out of iRacing. So yeah, just overall, it's just changed my life a whole lot.
Logan, thank you so much. That was an emotional answer. We're going to miss you. So good luck these next 2 races. We appreciate having you. I want to move on. We'll move on to the owner of the team, William Byron of William Byron Esports. William, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to hear from your driver there, but I want to know what kind of relationship you have with your team, what you have, the kind of relationship you have with Nick and Logan, and what's really meant to you and the team.
Yeah, I feel like they've both done a really good job of just kind of perfecting their craft, and Nick has been at it for a while now, and Nick and I have had a great relationship outside of just, you know, his iRaces. He's helped me a lot on the Cup side, just doing some practices here and there, and you know, we get some time to work together on those things. So that's been great for us over the couple of years that we've worked together. And but yeah, both of them have done a good job. Logan made it to the Final Four a couple of years ago, and Nick has been a consistent threat, you know, and with race wins and getting in the playoffs. So it's they're fun to work with. They enjoy racing. Happy for Logan that he's getting a chance to kind of do what he wants to do, and you know, but yeah, cool to still have Nick and all that he's bringing to the table.
You'll have to look for a new driver. So what kind of driver do you look for at William Byron Esports?
I just want people that work hard at it and love the sport. I think that's kind of my MO, is that, and that's what it takes in the sport. It's just kind of, you've got to want to put in the time, and you got to love it. You know, you've got to love racing and love the competition, all the things that it takes to make the car go fast, basically. So it's it's tough, and you know, but I love the sport, and love what iRacing does and the realism there, and it's something that I use too. And I think that, you know, I can watch driving styles and see, yeah, everyone's got a little bit different driving styles. Some guys are more aggressive, some guys take more chances, some guys are more focused on getting a good finish, and so it's just kind of about just seeing how much they want it.
And you know more than most, but how can iRacing be a tool and benefit drivers in the real world?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think just to see the progress and evolution of iRacing, I think that when I first started, you know, it was still then the most realistic thing you could do. But just at this point, how much farther along it's gotten, even from that step, to see how the evolutions come with the tires and just the damage model and some of the little things that happen, the aero effects of the car. So it's it's something that, I use myself and, at certain times of the year. And I think that it's just cool to see how far it's come and how much has been put into that. So in the community as well, I think there's, more and more guys doing it, more guys racing, and that's just been cool in general.
William Byron, thank you so much for joining us. So cool to have a driver who's also an owner. And Camille Blake, he's competing for a championship, moving on himself to the Final 8, and now he's here joining us as his drivers, as all these drivers try to move on tonight as well.
Well, it just shows that passion that, a lot of people have for the sport. And I have so much passion for our next segment. It is time to Show Us Your Rigs. This is brought to you by our friends at Logitech, where we get to see your rigs at home. This one's from Tony.
Tony Kanaan?
Yeah.
Yes. Tony Kanaan, Indy 500 winner. Oh, man. Well, that's so cool to see him. When he's not running the Ironman, he's running iRacing.
I know, and apparently in all green.
Sure.
Christian, I'm liking this one. I feel like this whole year, 3 screen setup has been super popular.
It has been a little bit ambient lighting in that one. Oh, here's Dylan. He's got the got the cat racing on. I know a number of people who have had their cats jump up in their lap during a race, and it looks like it's not affecting. He's in the middle of a pack right there drafting, and it's not affecting him at all.
Oh, another cat. Is that Martin's rig, or is Martin the cat? I would love to know. But Martin, whoever you are, that is a great rig right there.
The cat is definitely doing the driving here, obviously.
Oh, great setup there.
You gotta love it. This one's from Oliver. There we go. We have a little bit of wire management I feel like could happen here.
I love the desk mount. I'm a little worried about that cup there filled with liquid. I always get nervous. I get nervous, Oliver.
I know. As you reach for the headset and whoa, what is happening here? Shayers, where is your chair? It should not be in the bathroom, although very comfortable.
I have a lot of questions here, but I guess if he's running a 6 or a 12-hour race, he doesn't really have to move that much.
Well, you know what? He really has everything here. He has a little floss, a Ziploc, for whenever he's trying to put any of his peripherals into a little pouch so it doesn't get wet.
TMI racing, that's what we'll call it.
TMI racing. I love that. Remember to send us your rigs. Tweet us using the hashtag eNASCAR, tagging NASCAR and iRacing. We really want to see your rigs for the championship. Speaking of championship, can you believe it? We're almost done. Only one more race till the finish line, and you know that it's going down in Charlotte. You gotta love it. Remember that you could actually be there with us, RSVP at the email that you see there. So we could have you join in on all the championship fun alongside us. Tickets at iRacing.com. Now, I'm hearing that there's a special announcement that the three of us have no idea about. The producers have been very hush-hush on this, so we don't even know what the special announcement is. So we'll just let it happen. Go ahead, producers.
But it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father. Way to go.
The iRacing community has been a big part of my life for many, many years.
That is so cool.
Awesome. Good.
Man.
That's awesome. The Dale Earnhardt Jr. Championship Trophy. Someone's going to win that, and so properly named, Blake.
It really is. When you think about somebody and the amount of time they've invested into iRacing, being a part of the community as a driver, and then stepping into the executive role as well, and stepping over leadership as well, I don't think there's anybody more fitting that you can think of in iRacing who has truly invested a lot, like Dale Earnhardt Jr. So very fitting that he's the name of the championship trophy, and he was the first ever winner in this series. So I guess it goes for that as well.
Well, I was just about to say, it's a real show of the history of this series, coming so far, and now to be having this trophy named after a legend who, Alan, do you have some interviews with Dale? Maybe I'd be able to put the cherry on top of this announcement?
Well, we did. A lot of Dale Earnhardt and a lot of well-deserved, but we talked to him not too long ago. We sat down and asked him some questions. First thing I wanted to know is, as Blake mentioned, the first winner ever in this series. So, we asked Dale what it's been like watching the series grow since he first won that race way back in 2014.
Yeah, there was a lot of luck that played into me winning that very first race for the WDC. And it was a little bit of fuel mileage that I needed to get the win. But that was I didn't even know in the moment that I wasn't thinking like, man, this is the first race of what's going to be this long, series that's going to be so prevalent today in iRacing and the iRacing community. But all I remember was I finished first in a field of the best sim racers on the service. I mean, I've raced them individually at times and beat them, but not all collectively. And that was the best thing about the series for me, is that this was the way that we could collectively get everyone into the same race and really see over time who the best was. And that's what it's about today for me, is anytime when I'm showcasing the Coca-Cola series, I tell people, look, these are the best guys on the oval side of the service that are there. Of the thousands of members, we have 11, 12 on average, 12,000 members on at any given moment in prime time, weekends or weekdays. Of all the people that are on this service, day in, day out, these are the best in the business, and they have a genuine, true, real, authentic talent at what they do. And if when I go against them, it's incredible how good they are. And so I think that it's great that we showcase the best. I think that's a great way to do it. I think it's a great platform and a great stage for them to sort of prove to people just how good they are. It's gotten so competitive, from the front of the field to the back. How perfect they have to be to win these races, and you can see that emotion when they do win, what it means to them. And because they know how good they had to be in that moment to win that race that night, and they know the guys, just like I did that day, they know that they beat the best, no question. There's thousands and hundreds and thousands of people that have worked through the system, Road to Pro, and all those steps to get into that group. And man, I mean, if you take the checker flag in any of those races throughout the season, it's an incredible accomplishment in your sim racing career.
And of course, Junior, not only a driver, but also a team owner as well. He re-signed Briar LaPrade, then he brought on Michael Conti, kept him around, got Briar LaPrade as a rookie. So we asked him, why those two drivers for JRM?
That's a great question. Conti's always just kind of been easy to work with, very fair. When we're talking about our next season and working out our contract, he's realistic and fair. We look at the market value, what other guys are getting, and I've never really had a bad experience with him in terms of just trying to get him what he believes he's worth, and he'll go out there and he'll really work for us and do as good a job as he can on the racetrack. We talk about, I feel like I have a good understanding of his responsibilities away from the sim, right? You have a job, you've got other responsibilities in your life that are going to take precedence at times, and he does a good job of, when he gets the ability to really work on his craft and be prepared for the next race, he does. And he comes in and shows up, and he shows up to win, and I think he's a threat every week. Briar was I I like his personality. Think he's a fun guy to be around. He's got a great thing going with his own self-promotion on Twitch and so forth. And we're kind of looking at those things more when you're talking about drivers. Is how are they promoting themselves before they ever got here? Will they be actively out there trying to showcase what we're all about and promote the relationship and partners that we have? Breyer already had some partners of his own that have supported him up through the system and up through his career, and that's interesting to be able to meet new partners, be able to allow them to showcase their services on our platform, on our race car. And so I thought that was fun. The drivers couldn't be any more different from each other. Breyer's bubbly, sort of outgoing, and Conti's focused, quiet, hard at work on his craft, and so I kind of like the contrast between the two. And hopefully, we're going to be working with Breyer for a good while. And he's got a lot up against him, and to be able to stay in the series, it's not easy to be able to maintain a position in the league. And I think it should be hard to be there. And you should have to earn your opportunity to be there. But we're having fun working with him, and have some great looking race cars on the racetrack as well, some good partners behind us.
What a treat it was to ask Dale Jr. those questions over the past few weeks or so, and there's more on iRacing YouTube channel if you want to check out more of the interviews we did with Dale Jr. But just a treat to have him on here, Countdown to Green. Big show tonight.
Huge show tonight, and huge race on the line for the drivers looking to join Bobby Z in the finale. Blake, take us through.
Yeah, it's very important. I was talking with one of his drivers before this race. They said they've put in 1,000 laps, more than 1,000 laps in preparation for this race, and this is the track they'll be tackling tonight. 1.5 miles in progressive banking that goes from 18 degrees down to the very bottom of the racetrack to 20 all the way up at the wall. Of course, we know Homestead-Miami has gone through a lot of different configurations since 1995, but the best thing about this one that they have right now is that progressive banking that you can use every inch of this racetrack. Of course, it was Keegan Leahy who won here in 2021 at the beginning of the year that propelled his championship season. We'll see if somebody else can win and try to get their championship season off towards Phoenix next time out.
Well, we'll have to see. This is a race that everyone's been waiting for, and the picks I know I've been waiting for. Blake, let's start off with your picks. Or let's first look at these points.
Don't laugh. No laughing.
I'm sorry, Alan.
Why are you laughing?
Just funny that the rookie is leading. But anyways, Blake, I pointed it out. Now let's get to tonight's point.
Also worth pointing out, I've done what, 2 of 16 races, so just gonna put that out there. But
you might catch me, Blake.
Yeah, maybe with 2 races left. But the driver I'm picking tonight, I think, showed a lot last week at Talladega. I think he showed that he has nothing to lose, that he's going to be willing to do anything to win. I'm going to go with a bit of an upset tonight. Colin Bowden, car number 69 E-Racer. He's going to put on a nice performance tonight. He is going to go to victory lane.
All right, Alan?
Big fun win. I'm going with Steven Wilson. I have him in my Final Four. He's been one of the best all year, done great at the 1.5 miles. He makes redemption tonight, Steven Wilson. How about you, Camille?
I'm going with Ottinger. I mean, he just has to. He has to for us. And we have to get going very soon. But remember, next week is championship, and I'm so happy to see the 2 of you in person as well. But before that, Blake, you have pole sitter.
We do. It is Casey Kerwin, playoff driver, getting it done in the clutch. So Casey Kerwin will start on the front row tonight when we toss it back to Evan.
All right. Well, thank you 2 so much, Alan, Blake. It's always a pleasure. Next week, we will be live in person for the championship. But before we do that, we got to see which drivers are going to be there. Stay tuned right after this break to find out who's going to the finale.
available now.
This is virtual racing with real life stakes.
My expectation of making the championship for
Ray Alfala, it's for sure a threat to the competition. My number one goal is to get back in victory lane.
I'm gonna just go out there and control what I can control.
The road to $300,000 returns to the Sunshine State for the final race before the championship. From iRacing's virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round number 17 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We tonight will finalize the 4 drivers that will join us in 2 weeks' time at the NASCAR Hall of Fame for the 2022 eNASCAR Championship. Alongside Steve Letarte and Alan Cavana, my name is Evan Pasoko. Guys, and a lot of exciting news. Not only are we going to find out the drivers that'll do battle for that large sum of the $330,000 purse, but just announced, we teased it a little bit, right? A couple of weeks ago that Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be joining us. He would be presenting the championship trophy, announcing today that is now known as the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Championship Trophy. For all you history buffs out there, that goes way back to the inaugural season back in 2010 when Dale was the first ever winner in this championship, and now the trophy will bear his name.
Yeah, look, they race for money, right? But how many racers just race for a trophy? And no bigger, better trophy than the Dale Earnhardt Championship Trophy. That's forever. Trophies are forever, Steve.
Yeah, I think it's a great tribute to Dale. His support for sim racing goes way back, pre-2010, really pre this platform where everyone got to race at iRacing. He's been around for a long time, and I know he's part of the iRacing family now in a professional capacity. But well before that, he was supporting it, both publicly, privately, and just getting on and racing with his buddies. And I think this is a tip of the hat to the Hall of Famer, inducted in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and now he has a trophy that will be raced for many years to come.
And we already know that Bobby Zalenski will seek out his first Dale Earnhardt Jr. Championship Trophy in a couple of weeks' time, but it is about time we find out the other 3 drivers that will join him. So let's go trackside here at Homestead-Miami and hand things off to today's Grand Marshal, William Byron, to get things underway.
On behalf of Logitech and William Byron Esports, Sim Seats, drivers, start your engines.
Welcome everyone to the final preliminary race of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. The final 3 spots of the Championship 4 will be decided tonight here in Homestead. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoff contenders. From Fresno, California, driving the Joe Gibbs Racing number 18 Toyota. The only driver to have raced his way into the playoff, trying to bring that momentum into Phoenix with a good show tonight, it's Bobby Zalenski. 17 points above the cutoff line, but still trying to guarantee the number 48 Charlotte Phoenix Toyota. From Houston, Texas, the first driver in on points, he's Graham Bolin. 8 points above the cutoff line, driving the number 95 XSET Chevrolet Camaro. From Matthews, North Carolina, it's Casey Kerwin. The final driver currently in on points, but only by a slim margin of 3, trying to fight for his second championship in the series. From Concord, North Carolina, it's Michael Conti. Currently 5th in points and your first driver below the cutoff line. From Gastonia, North Carolina, and driving the number 21 for Wood Brothers Racing, the chase is still on for Garrett Lowe. driving the number 10 Stewart-Haas Racing Mustang from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He's the driver with the most wins this season, and he's looking to find his 4th to get into the finale. It's Steven Wilson. In the number 25 William Byron Esports Chevrolet from Claremont, North Carolina, it's 2020 champion, the Audi boss, Nick Ottinger. In the number 75 Ford Mustang from Mode Motorsports representing Darien, Illinois, looking for a big win here tonight in Homestead, it is Matt Busa. Getting chewed up and spat out in Talladega, this driver has one more shot in the Championship 4 here tonight in Homestead. Driving the number 79 Clipboyer Racing Ford from Revere, Massachusetts, it's Femi Olatunbosen. From Temecula, California, but residing in Germany, 28 points back from the cutoff line, we'll need to see all of his incredible talent on display tonight. In the number 23-2311 Toyota Camry, it is Mitchell DeYoung. This is it. The final shot to have a chance to race for $100,000 and join some of the most elite names in sim racing. The last chance to have an opportunity to be a NASCAR champion. Who will be joining Bobby Zelensky in the Championship 4 in Phoenix? We will find out when the checkered flag flies here at Homestead. The final preliminary round of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs starts now.
And as we roll, we go trackside to take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And for the very first time, it is a pole position for the exit number 95 of Casey Kerwin. He'll bring us to the green flag alongside the Williams Esports number 19 of Vicente Salas. Back at row number 2, a fellow championship competitor, Nick Ottinger, in the 25 entry for William Byron Esports. Going to be alongside the Stewart-Haas Esports 41 of Dylan Duval. Row 3 will see Femi Olat looking to bounce back from that rough go at Dega 2 weeks ago. His Clipboy Racing 79 alongside the Charlotte Phoenix 43 of Colin Keister. Back at row number 4, 7th position, it goes to the second of the Stewart-Haas Fords. That's the number 10 of Steven Wilson and the Team Dylan Esports number 3 of Corey Vincent alongside. And on row 5, P9 tonight belonging to the Williams Esports number 20 of Donovan Strauss with the Jim Beaver Esports number 15 of Blake Reynolds around the outer top 10.
To the row 6 now on the inside, iRacing's Malik Ray, and on the outside, Jim Beaver Esports, Michael Guest in that number 9 car. Row 7 on the outside, Team Dylan's Taylor Hurst, and on the inside, Charlotte Phoenix, Graham Bolin in the number 48. Row number 8, Briar LaPrade for Junior Motorsports in the 88, and Bobby Zielinski for Joe Gibbs Racing on the outside. Row 9 gives us Keegan Leahy, last year's champion for 2311, and Rise Esports' Zach Novak on the outside. Followed by row 10, Logan Clampett, William Byron Esports, in one of his final races here in the series, and Alan Bowes on the outside of row 10, Evan.
And past the halfway point, Jimmy Mullis and the other of the Rise Esports fueled by Sudoku entries is 46. Going to be on the inside along with the Mode Motorsports 75 of Matt Busa. Bit of work to do for one of your playoff competitors. Dylan Alt will see his Letard Esports number 40 start alongside the E-Racer 42 of Derek Bordeaux. They're going to be ahead of the 25th place starter, Liam Brotherton, who represents the number 2 car for Elliott Sadler Esports, and Colin Bowden 69 for E-Racer alongside. Another driver with some work to do tonight, the number 8 Junior Motorsports Chevy of Michael Conti. He'll start to the inside of row 14 alongside the Wood Brothers number 16 of Blade Witt. And through your top 30, you'll find the number 17 RFK Racing entry of Caden Honeycutt and his teammate Parker Retzlaff in the 6.
Row 16 gives us Garrett Maines from Elliott Sadler Esports, and on the outside, Cody Bias from Mode Motorsports in the 24. Row 17, Brian Mercurio for Letart Esports, and Team XZ's Ryan Luza. Row 18, Ray Alfala, former champion for Joe Gibbs Racing, and the Wood Brothers, Garrett Lowe in the 21, starting there on the outside. Row 19, Mitchell DeYoung, 2311, playoff driver, still going for that Championship 4, and Derek Justice on the outside for Team iRacing. And then finally, row 20, on the outside, Kyle Peddle in the 54.
So look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid, and we referenced it earlier, first time up top, Casey Kerwin will bring us to the green flag this afternoon. Alan, you've got him dialed up.
Casey, you've got a huge race and a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure tonight, and you're starting with no one in front of you. How are you feeling about the car? We know how you were in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about it. We have a little bit less knowledge than normal coming into these races to really know where we kind of stack up, but I feel good with the car, and honestly, my biggest worry was qualifying. I'm not much of a qualifier. Picked a good time to get my first career pole, but yeah, hopefully we can just stay up front, keep clean air most of the race, and yeah, see how the race pace is.
All right, everything's on the line. Good luck tonight. Good luck from the pole. You're starting in a great position.
It'll be the 13th time we go racing here at Homestead. 10 times prior, Steve, this has been the championship race, but tell us more about it as we look at a Race News race analysis.
Well, it's anything but a straightforward 1.5 miles at 100 laps long, 50 miles per hour on pit road. You lose a little over 21 to 24 seconds to head down pit road. 3 sets of tires, which could come into play here. A lot of tire fall off. Fuel window over halfway, 53 to 56 laps. But this track, variable banking, more grip near the top on old tires. We're going to see them right around the fence. It is a great facility, great challenge, and this is one of the ones that track position matters, but a good car will be able to overtake, so it's going to be fun to watch.
It is critical for the championship drivers because anybody in the round of 10 can advance to that Phoenix finale with a win here tonight. The only driver that knows he'll be racing at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2 weeks is Bobby Zalenski, who will join him. Pace car going to be down it in this time, and in his 92nd career start, Casey Kerwin will come off a 4 for the first time ever as your pole sitter. Pace car down it in as we say, let's go playoff racing at Homestead. Already looking to the inside, 3 wide, middle of the pack, but off at 2, Kerwin, early race lead.
And this is the time to make it, right? With tires are such a premium at a track like Homestead-Miami, now is the time to make as many positions as you can because they're going to start racing for themselves soon, stick to the bottom line and try to pace themselves out. Now is the time to make up spots.
Right, you see the bottom is the popular spot as we see now 3 wide in that second row right there with the 10 working the bottom of the racetrack as the 41 of Duval climbs the banking. The bottom will be good on new tires, but as the tires age, you definitely want to climb up and look for that extra banking, that extra grip.
And you look for the drivers with those red windshield banners. You'll also be highlighted in red at the top of your screen. That's how you can remember who is in the round of 10 and who wants to fight for $100,000 next week. Now on the left-hand side of your screen, a live look at the championship standings. Casey Kerwin, currently your race leader, immediately jumps to the top of the board. Right now, Zalenski, courtesy of the race win, also looking good. You got the 10 of Wilson in and the 25 of Ottinger in. Boland, first driver out as they're 3 wide off at turn 2.
Yeah, as we're saying, this is the best the tires are going to be. Get it now, but 3 wide at Homestead, not something we're used to seeing too much. It just shows the intensity of trying to get as many positions as you can now. And these points that are on the left of our screen are going to change lap by lap with the leader changes, just like we saw on Sunday in the Cup Series. Different leader can change everything, and with these points going up and down every single lap, every one of these positions will be more and more important as this race goes on.
An aggressive slide by that 97 of Logan Clampett. We'll see if he'll try it again off turn 2. He does. He slides right in front of that 45. Barely enough room. Some pretty good give and take, allowing each other to kind of find their way down the straightaway as he fires now to the bottom. That 97 of Clampett. Now the 45 is going to climb the hill. Keegan Leahy trying to get that run off the top.
And you take a look at the number 40 machine back in some of the traffic. Dylan Alt started back in 23rd. It's where he sits now. Let's ride on board with your Coca-Cola onboard camera. Well, that was not good for Bolin or Conti. Both of those drivers dropping back in the running order. You can see as they run, they are both in the red below the cut line. But I think maybe they're just fortunate to still be in this race.
And that's the name of it, right? Just stay in there as long as you can and avoid trouble. Minimize the damage even if there is an issue. But you can see how high some of the drivers are running. 3 wide, even 7 laps into this race. Talking with some of the drivers before the race, they said, yeah, the top can be good, but it also may affect tire wear more than if you were on the bottom of the racetrack. So any ground you're making up now could come back to bite you later on in this run. That's what these drivers have to worry about.
Let's take another look at it. We were on board with Dylan Alt when the issue happened right in the middle of the straightaway. The 48 right here is on the bottom of the racetrack. And as Graham Bolin kind of slides up on exit, does he get tapped or does he just lose it? Oh, he comes up and he's expecting, I think, one more lane. There was a car there, a little bit of contact. Amazing that the 48 and the 8 of Conti were able to stay straight. A few positions lost, but minimal damage it looks like.
Graham Bolin has been the best performing driver of those in the round of 10 with an 11th place finish in the round opener at Bristol, a 5th place finish last week at Talladega, and a near disaster there for him. Michael Conti has been solid. 17th, 16th are the finishing positions he's had so far this round. Looking for a little bit more, and you can see here in the mid-pack trying to deal with all of the traffic that midfield qualifying effort kind of got him stuck with.
And the top's been good to him. He's been the highest car on the racetrack. Again, how much of an effect will that have later on in this run? But as these laps go by, you have to get what you can now. And all these positions, as we saw in the points, are just helping them. Let's go down to James Pike, who's got a report from the pits.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. I got a little bit of words from Graham Bolin and Michael Conti, who were both involved in that incident on the backstretch. Graham asked his crew how the right side of his car was. They said there was some damage on the right front, but he says, I think we'll be okay. Let's keep pushing. Meanwhile, spotter on Michael Conti's machine said that the nose looked fine, but Conti himself has been quiet since that incident. I think just trying to focus on getting a few more spots and getting a feel for where this car is, where he stacks up in comparison to the rest of the field.
Great update. A long way to go. Yeah, we're only 10 laps in, so it's kind of weird. That was going to be my next point, Steve, right? I mean, a long way to go. You got to be able to pace yourself and get through this, but at the same time, we were talking pre-race. This is not a long race, 100 laps, so any sort of setback's going to hurt that much more.
It is, and when there's a playoff car leading and another playoff car in third with Femi Olat, that concerns someone like Mitchell DeYoung, who started all the way at the back of the field. He has driven up into the top 25, but a little lucky so far. Missed that incident we saw with the 48 and the 8, but now he starts to see a single file up front. 3 of the top 4 are all playoff cars as the 10 fires it into the top. You see the entry speed he's able to carry. Now the question is, can he get back to the gas and carry the speed on exit? I think he's going to be successful, and that's going to prevent Femi here from drifting up and taking that third lane on corner exit.
There's the onboard look with him as he ducks back in line. Your top 4 single filed out, and 4 of the top 5 occupied by playoff cars. The only non-playoff driver in the top 5 now, Vicente Salas. Somebody else who wants to get up there, spoil the party, is Colin Keister. He's trying to pass Matt Busa directly behind Femi Olat as this battle sends it off into 1 and 2 for the 13th time this race. Already some traffic up the road as well that your race leaders are going to have to deal with. That's Liam Brotherton, who started this race well off of the pace, so not a ton of traffic up the road, but just something to keep in mind because your race leaders cannot get away from each other. It is your top 9 within 1 second of each other, and there's a look at that 75 of Busa up on the outside.
Busa doing a very nice job of not overdriving the entry. You know, to run the top, you kind of have to roll it in at a reasonable speed, let the front tires do the work. The trick to running the top is to roll in easy enough that you can get back to the gas first. You're really just trying to make the next straightaway longer. So if you see the 75 roll in, he's not looking for an advantage here. It's here. Back in the gas, he's going to try to get this momentum, carry it off the corner, and see if he can get a little run on the guys on the bottom.
And 3 wide now with the number 78 or 79, I should say, of Olat right in the middle. And again, right up on the outside wall goes Matt Busa. He dug himself a hole early in this round, but he got a 28th place finish back at Bristol. That was the 3rd lowest amongst all the drivers in the playoffs, but has been crawling back into the conversation. Got a top 20 at Talladega, but he's going to need to get a little bit more and may have to just win this race if he wants to advance to the championship 4. He's able to get around Olat for the moment, but that 43 of Keister stays right on him, and more drivers behind joining in on the action. Dylan Duval and Corey Vincent are on the scene.
I like the 3rd lane for the 75. When he runs the middle lane, the 2nd lane, he just, it doesn't look like it's faster through the middle, and it's losing time down the straightaway. As now the 79, he's going to run the middle. The 3 is going to kind of run the middle, but the 75 go all the way to the top. Oh, so we have yellow on the racetrack.
Nothing going on with this group, so it has to be towards the rear of the field, and I'm hearing it may have been an issue for the 42 of Derek Bordeaux. Bordeaux has scored in 20th last time by the start-finish line, so was actually having a pretty decent night, was up and in the green and made 4 passes, but he was spun around somewhere on the back straightaway, so we'll take a second look and let's see what happened.
Kind of in the middle there, just off the right rear of the 8 of Michael Conti. Mitchell the Young on the outside. Oh, just, trying to keep the power down, sliding up the racetrack. The Young in that 23 is there, without a doubt. Contact, and then you kind of get into that, that tank slapper down the straightaway. Get behind on the steering, and around it goes. And now, no surprise, most of the leaders looking for pit road and a fresh set of tires.
I think it's worth noting as well, you saw the 46 of Mullis get shot off screen. He was able to save that race car and not get into the inside wall. So Mullis still in this. In fact, he's only 2 spots behind Vincent as they race down to the pit lane. So early service in this one. Malik Ray going to be the only driver to stay out. And now as your playoff cars pull down to the very end of pit road, it all comes down to execution and being clean. You don't want to outrun yourself. Don't beat yourself in this scenario. Again, Malik going to be the only driver to stay out. He started 11th in this race, so he's not that far off on speed. And when it comes to the race off of pit road, Casey Kerwin defends the top spot, but that means he'll have to cycle out in second as they're pretty jammed up going to the access road. Talking about some special paint schemes, how about the look on the 3 car tonight of Corey Vincent? We've seen some real fun, Coca-Cola schemes on that race car over the course of the season, and sporting Rick and Morty on that number 3 Chevrolet tonight, and the Rick and Morty Portal Time Lemon Lime and Fruipyland Fruit Punch drinks.
Evan, you're a professional, man.
I couldn't say it more. Yeah, try to say that one 3 times fast. That's my quota for the night.
Oh, good-looking car there.
And it's looking good as well, running inside of the top 10. Matt Busa's number 75 machine now finds himself down in 22nd as we go back down pit road to James Pike.
Yeah, the plan all along for Busa was to try and run where the competition wasn't. You saw him work to the high line in that opening stint. His team said that they had great short-run pace, and the spot that they were beginning to save their tires, or at least planning to save, lap 17, which is exactly when the caution hit. So this could not have panned out any better for Matt Busa with regards to his strategy up to the top 5 after starting in 22nd. The question he just asked his team on the radio, however, is whether or not people will start matching his strategy and maybe start running the high line where most cars aren't, because they saw how successful he was in the opening stint of this race.
Mentioned he started back in 22nd. That plus 17 means that Matt Busa is the biggest mover in the field, having taken over that top 5 position. And we take another peek in at those live points, guys. These are going to be jumping all over the place all night long. The one that'll always stay is Zelensky's good, but now that Kerwin is no longer in the race lead, it's not all doom and gloom. Still plus 15 to the cut line. He entered tonight running 3rd in the points, so no surprise.
Yeah, he had a good start to this round, but as you mentioned, right there around the cut line, so close. The 25 Ottinger is having a decent night. He started pretty well. We saw him running inside the top 5. This is going to be pretty hairy right here, though. Malik Ray staying out on those old tires. I really think this is just a strategy to save a set, Evan, but it is going to make the restart very difficult.
And we'll see just what he can get out of it as the lights go on top of the pace car. And as always, want to remind you, if you want to keep up to date with the latest news and updates from the world of eNASCAR, then sign up today. You can scan the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and stay up to date with iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. And we keep talking championship. Well, if you want to be in the know and keep up to date with the schedule, standings, and even info on how you could one day qualify to race in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR today. It doesn't always have to be, though, the top level of sim racing. You can run around in street stocks with me and open if you want. For more information on how to start your iRacing career today, you can find all of that information and more at iRacing.com. As always, you can get big discounts if you are a new member. And in the world of eNASCAR, we got more action between now and 2 weeks. Make sure you get up to date with the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. That race coming up not too long from now, a week away on October the 18th for the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. Pace car off it in. Malik Ray, old tires on the inside of the front row, takes the green flag, and we're back underway with 80 laps to go.
This first corner will be interesting to see how valuable those tires are. You can see Malik Ray already skirting up to the wall there, and the two other drivers, Wilson and again Kerwin, getting under him there, taking the advantage of those tires and doing it as quickly as possible. A battle for the lead, 3 wide into turn 3.
Kerwin's trying to get a nose in front there. Malik Ray falls to the wayside on that outside, and now 2 playoff cars side by side for the race lead at Homestead. Here comes Wilson on the inside. Almost clear. Now he's got it in the center of 1 and 2. New race leader at lap 22. It is now the 10 of Steven Wilson. Somebody else trying to get up and in the mix is the 25, Nick Ottinger. He's 10th. Let's ride on board. This is your Logitech onboard camera. And that's a look on board with Nick Ottinger's Logitech G Chevrolet. He's in 10th position. And Alan, I'm going to hand things off to you to talk to Audi Boss's boss. And that's you're back with William Byron again.
Yeah, so happy to have William Byron joining us here, who knows a little something about iRacing, racing on Sundays, and winning at Homestead. So William, first off, let's talk the playoffs. This is essentially an elimination race. How much pressure do you feel going into a playoff cutoff race when you're driving?
You know, it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of energy around a cutoff race, and you've got a lot of high hopes and things like that. But honestly, for me, I've just always focused on just trying to stay within myself, and just you know, you just have to know the situation. You have to know what you need to do, but you just you can't race any differently, or can't approach it any differently until the situation comes about. So it's certainly when the situations unfold, you do race a little bit different based on that. But in the moment, you just have to go out there and just kind of know your situation and know what you need to do, but kind of stay within yourself.
You know every square inch of this place, including Victory Lane. Based on that real-world experience, what do you think about Homestead-Miami Speedway?
Yeah, Homestead's tough. We did the Pro Invitational race there on iRacing, and it's just a difficult, tricky track. I mean, it's the seams have a lot of grip or not, based on how you hit them, and it's just trying to figure out, those little nuances of the track. I think are critical at Homestead because the track is so low on grip that you're constantly searching for it and trying not to overdo it as well. So. It's it's tough. It's a tough little track, but and you just have to kind of search for grip.
You're going to be there in a few weeks, and a win might mean everything to your championship hopes. How can iRacing help you prepare for a few weeks from now?
Yeah, I think it's just figuring out the visuals of the track and kind of the rhythm of the track as well. Like what kind of throttle input, relatively, what is it going to take to get around the track successfully. So I think that it's just kind of figuring out those basic braking points, throttle pickup points, some things like that are going to help at certain tracks. So I think for me, it's there's certain places that take a lot of rhythm, and Darlington's one of those places that I'll get on iRacing, kind of just get the flow of the track and the rhythm of the corners and kind of the momentum that you need to carry. So it's great for those reasons, and I think that it's a good tool.
William, appreciate having you on here during the race. Evan, I mean, who better to have on than a playoff driver himself, William Byron? Explain how to do this.
Kicking it off and in the race, and he knows a lot about the sim. So does his driver there, Nick Ottinger, who won the championship in this series back in 2020. Talking about teams, there's the duo from Williams on the inside of the racetrack, the 19 and the 20. Vicente Salas leading his teammate Donovan Strauss. Both of them trying to crack into the top 10 in this one. Now, everybody else seems to be sneaking to the outside of the racetrack, trying to get around, but they're committed to the bottom right here. This battle's all for about P8 on back.
Well, and it's crowded. I mean, the field itself is just so pushed together, as now we're on board with the 20 car of Donovan Strauss.
You can see them get that run off the corner. That's where that progressive banking comes in that Blake was talking about during Countdown to Green. Those extra 2 degrees up top is why some drivers love ripping the fence here.
I love that insight from James we heard from the pits about some drivers choosing something of a gamble to get up high in that groove early. But if a caution comes out, it's almost like you've hit the lottery, right? You've made the best of your tires, a fast way around the track, and then you get another opportunity at getting fresh rubber. We're seeing both the 2311 cars do that right now. Let's go down to pit road again.
Yeah, lots of chatter in the Mitchell de Jong pit about running that high line. His crew chief Zach Campbell talked to him and opened the question whether or not he was running too hard and maybe burning up the tires by running that high line. But Mitchell de Jong said, you know what, doesn't matter now. I'll figure it out when I'm at the front.
Well, Mitchell, I think, needs to go because over the course of this round of 10, he has the worst average finish, but a spinner behind, and it is the 88 car around. So Briar LaPrade with problems on the front straightaway in the Ledford Billiard Supply Chevy. So that'll bring out the second caution flag of the afternoon. He was running inside of the top 15, but I think the replay will show us it wasn't just him. Because there was a lot of cars scattering right in that group that we were just watching. Conti was near it, Strauss was near it, Novak was in the mix as well, and once 2 cars got together in 3 and 4, it just kind of fanned everybody out, and unfortunately for Briar, he ended up being the only driver, I think, to actually go around in all of this one, so we'll take a look and see what happened with him in just a moment. But second yellow of the night, just shy of the halfway point. 66 laps left to go in this race, and all your race leaders going to catch back up to the pace car. And let's take a look now at that second look.
All right, so we see the 45 right here up running kind of middle of the racetrack. Everything looks pretty decent. Oh, the 5 just tries to squeeze in when there's really not room. The stack up happens, and then the 88 gets hit from behind. I couldn't tell exactly who made contact with him, but 88 really had very little to do with that incident until he got hit.
Here's Garrett Lowe, who's going to be behind where all of that kicked off. You can see the car scattering. There is LaPrade down to the inside, and then they kept going. And Bobby Zelensky got a bit of a piece of that. So it did continue. More than just Brian LaPrade were involved, and many of your playoff drivers were close to it, but are able to sneak on through. Second yellow means second trip to pit road for a lot of your race leaders. There is going to be, though, a handful of cars that stay out as Dylan Alt goes to the top spot. We're closing in on halfway home in the Homestead 150. You're watching the penultimate race of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
There are just two ways through the playoffs. The first one, elimination. But by the looks of these 12 drivers, it's safe to say that isn't an option. Now the second one is to win the whole thing and forever be called a champion. Thing is, there's only room for one. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. I am NASCAR.
And back live at iRacing's virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway, where coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by Wendy's. Rick and Morty Portal Time Lemon Lime and Fruity Land Fruit Punch drinks are only at Wendy's. Available on Coca-Cola Freestyle dispensers for a limited time, so go to Wendy's and try a mix today. I'll tell you what, I think it's so much fun to say I'm going to have to go to Wendy's post-race in this one, but that's still 62 laps away as we welcome you back into the eNASCAR booth alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, joined as always by Steve Letarte and Alan Cavana. Guys, coming off of our second yellow of the afternoon. This time on pit road, 7 drivers decided to stay out, so that puts the heavy hitters. Wilson back in 9th, Kerwin down in 11th. We'll see how this shakes out the running order.
Well, I think the running order is now, mixed up a little bit, and tire count is going to become an issue, right? Oh, yeah. Second caution before lap 50. They have a limited amount of tires. Malik Ray stayed out that first caution and saved a set, and now we see 7 other drivers stay out on this caution right here.
You can see the picks from Countdown to Green. Allen, Steven Wilson, good pick early, but he's got to get back up there.
He does, and I'm wondering, we have our crew chief on hand, one of the best in the business. Steve, what do you think about this limited tires and people doing 2 pit stops already?
Anybody who's done 2 pit stops, I feel very concerned for. We've seen this race won on a new set of tires late, as now we are restarted underway, and you're going to see how quickly it gets mixed up with old tires at the front.
And if you're using those tires early, you might as well get your money's worth. Can those cars on fresh tires get through the field? 3 wide, even 4 wide as they race off of turn 2. It's Alt controlling the field from the race lead. There's a good look back at the number 21 to Machida Garrett Lowe sitting in 3rd. Up front, though, Zelensky going to go underneath 40 of Alt for the race lead. They're 3 wide behind as well for 5th. That midfield just cannot separate as Bobby Zelensky goes to the race lead.
Stephen Wilson, Michael Conti back up front. Battle for the lead, or battle for second place there with Bobby Zelensky in the lead, and battle for second with the 21 car trying to get under the 40, but those cars with the fresh rubber, they are coming and they're using every single lane in this track offers them.
And as we see this strategy play out, Steve, those drivers who have already been down pit road twice, of course, going to want to use those fresh tires to make up for the track position they lost while pitting, but also they got less tires left. You can't use them all up too quick.
No, they can, but I'm actually very surprised with how well the old tires are hanging on. I mean, we see the 43 of Colin Keister in the 5th position. He's the first guy really making any moves on the new tires. Everyone else is holding on up front. Some of it has to do with this tight racing here in this traffic. You just have to have a little bit of clean air or at least clean track if you're going to use those fresh tires. But now that the 43 has found his way to the old tires, here he is on the bottom, that orange number 43.
And Keister going to go up a little bit on the door of the 40. They are 4 wide in 1 and 2, and through the middle goes the 10 of Wilson. So Wilson breaks free of this group, and Colin Bowden can't really decide where to go. There's a car in every lane. The 17 of Honeycutt sideways up on the outside. He's nearly into the outside wall, and now Bowden will slice down and underneath Dylan Alt as he's trying to make his way through the field. That 69 car was just down pit road. He's got some fresh tires.
And you can see it's offering him options, right? Where other cars on the older tires are drifting up, where if they don't want to drift up into that upper lane, Colin Bowden can cut down and take advantage. And these older tires or new tires are offering him options and taking advantage of them while he can.
And Bowden in the middle of 2 lanes there. Doesn't want to pick either. Now he'll choose to go to the inside of Honeycutt. So Honeycutt now going to hold the top side. Bowden underneath. Those two going to duke it out in a battle for 7th and 8th position. And Bowden does not want to go all the way down. You can see Conti on the white line. Bowden not interested. As we see Dylan Alt continue to slide back from way overhead. They touch. That was the 5 of Novak who got into him. They're all able to survive, but those cars and old tires start to drop, and the midfield is ready to eat them alive. And up front, Stephen Wilson on the fresh tires was able to chase down Bobby Zelensky and race leader to the 10 car as Wilson goes back on top at lap 45.
But mission accomplished for the 18, 21, and 23, all on old tires, keeping that track position. Excuse me, De Jong has newer tires on as well, but the 18 and the 21 staying near the front of the field. They knew they weren't going to be able to hold anybody off, Alan.
Yeah, and look, Stephen Wilson out there in front, he was running 2/10 faster than the 18 was on those new tires, and we see the advantage of that now. That was my race pick. We have seen Stephen Wilson succeed at high wear tracks like the old Atlanta we saw earlier this year, like Darlington just a few races ago. Another high wear racetrack, Stephen Wilson out in front.
A few updates from pit road, guys. I know you all were all talking about the tire strategy and whether or not 1 set versus 2 sets of tires might be important. Guess what? The drivers were thinking about that as well. Garrett Lowe decided to stay out. He said, and I quote, "I'd much rather have 2 sets left with 60-plus laps to go than just 1. Blake Reynolds also stayed out and rather came and got fuel only for the same reason, to make sure he had 2 sets of tires. Matt Busse, on the other hand, saving a little bit of fuel. They're not necessarily certain if they can make it all the way to the end.
And of course, on fuel, they could make it on a one-stopper, but the way they're racing, I don't think it's going to be quite so simple. If there's more yellows, that's where that strategy really comes into play. And again, burning up more than half of your tires, less than halfway through the race. A bold move, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out. Is no surprise, it's Busa on the fence. It's Zelensky on the white line as the battle inside the top 10 continues, closing in on halfway home.
Looking at the lap times, Busa on that high side was running times as fast as the leaders up front, Mitchell DeYoung, Steven Wilson. So the high side going well for him right now in the 75. We are now just about halfway through this race.
And on board with the Garrett Lowe, the number 21 Ford for Wood Brothers Racing. He finds himself right now scored in 18th position, but that's a whole lot of race cars right in front of him. Tantalizingly close. He needs those positions. You look at the live points right now. He finds himself 17 below the cut line. Somebody else to keep an eye on is that 43 of Colin Keister, sneaking his way back up and into the conversation. Had slipped back a little bit. Of course, we saw his Charlotte Phoenix teammate get some contact a little bit earlier in this one. So he's the flag bearer at the moment, trying to shake off Michael Conti in the 8 Chevrolet to the outside of the racetrack. Conti, somebody else who is tantalizingly close to the lead and may need it. Salas in the mix as well. You got the 41 of Dylan Duvall and the 46. Haven't talked much about Jimmy Mullis tonight, but he's about to crack the top 10.
Yeah, the top 10 at the halfway point in the race moving by pretty quick, even being slowed by 2 cautions. Still moving by. You talked about it, the length, 100 laps, just, not the longest race, so you're going to have to be aggressive when it matters. And I think that's what you're seeing in this traffic. While they are being polite and making sure they're giving each other's room, you're not out of the gas much, taking every run you can find.
And Steve, now that we're into some of these laps, Bobby Zielinski has gone back to about 18th. All the cars on tires are in front of those that stayed out. How are you feeling about the call as this goes out and the run goes longer? Those old tires only getting older.
Well, but you knew that was what's going to happen. I think the guys that saved a set, they don't want to caution quite yet. They want to caution a little bit farther in, maybe 20 laps on the tires for the cars that pitted. That's about 3 or 4 laps away. That's what I like to see. If I had 2 sets of tires, I'd like to see a caution with like 45 to go, because that way we could come put a set of tires on and have 1 set left, forcing everyone else to come to pit road and use their last set.
We'll see if this one's going to shake out that way. Meanwhile, up front, a good battle for the race lead is what's going on, but DeYoung up top, unable to hold. He was able to get around Wilson. Wilson trailed for about 3-4 laps, then took it right back. These two are so evenly matched. And don't look now, but your pole sitter, Casey Kerwin, about to join the conversation again. He led 17 laps early in this race, but he watches on from a third as Mitchell DeYoung goes back to the race lead, putting himself in a championship 4 spot.
Yeah, plus 36 positions for the driver of the 23, Mitchell DeYoung. We've seen many good drives out of him, but this is one of the most impressive, navigating all that traffic to go from the back to the front.
And we think of Mitchell as, of course, a road course specialist. That's where he got his win. I mentioned those high wear tracks earlier this year, a 9th at Atlanta and a 17th at Darlington. So really impressive tonight that Mitchell DeYoung, this far into the race, putting in one of his best performances of the year. When it's needed most, he is leading this race, possibly for another spot in the Phoenix 4.
And he's got 2 fellow drivers who would love to take that away. Back in traffic, taking a look at Garrett Maines, and you can see some of the pink on that Chevrolet accessories Camry tonight. Of course, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Garrett, driving for Elliott Sadler Esports, has Elliott's cancer surviving mom on the car with him tonight on that paint scheme. So a great cause sported on the 31, and tell you what, a pretty good night in the works so far for the driver of that 31 machine. So Garrett looking home to bring it home for a good night. And there it is, the best on board in sim racing. It is the driver POV. Bottom right, that is exactly what Garrett Maines is looking at home right now.
That is a spectacular look. The quad screen setup. 3 for vision out of the car, 1 for information above.
And there's a good look now right next to the action. So we see these, Alan, when you guys look at the Twitter rigs brought to you by our friends at Logitech all the time on Countdown to Green. That's what it looks like in practice, right? You don't have to, change your view out of your one monitor to look left and right. You can literally just glance, and those peripherals help you tell where the cars are around you and gives you a much more overall sense of where you are on the virtual racetrack.
The reality of it is just spectacular, including the virtual window net I love too, looking out your left side and seeing these cars going below, going high. I mean, what a view and what a talent and all the technology that goes in to being successful here in this series.
There's the 51 car. I haven't mentioned him much this afternoon, but Ray Alfala started back in 35th. He is up to the number 14 position. Of course, Ray, the winningest driver all time in the history of this series, 4-time champ from 2011, 12, 16, and 18. But we will see. Do we get a new champ this year? Bobby Zalenski, who won a couple of weeks ago to advance, guys, is going to be in the championship for a record 5th time in his career. He's yet to win it. 5th time. He's got a lot of practice. Still trying to see who will join him, and Steven Wilson's got a great opportunity. This is Steven's first time in the playoffs. He's never made it to a championship 4. Talk about a difference in experience between those two as we go down to pit road with James.
A little bit of a fun nugget within this battle. I think everybody knows that in real life, Ryan Newman, one of the hardest drivers to pass on the racetrack. Steven Wilson came on the radio a few laps ago and said that he felt like DeYoung was racing like the former Daytona 500 champion, so no doubt it's a battle up there. Meanwhile, Wilson a lap to the good on fuel. Mitchell DeYoung right on the number for fuel if it stays green.
And if it stays green, they might have enough fuel to go the next 41 laps, but it will be slipping and sliding. Lap times already over the 34-second bracket, so grip going away with 24 laps on these tires. As we see the 43 of Colin Keister, he seems to have one of the better long-run cars at times. He's just very, very patient. That last lap was about a tenth better than leader Steven Wilson.
It's so hard to consider in some of these races the aggression you need, obviously trying to get as much as you can and advance in the playoffs, but also the patience, Steve. You mentioned it, being a long-run driver. Tire management, way back in the real world of the 90s, used to be such a skill with these drivers, and we see it here in the Coke Series that tire management, patience may benefit you in the long run with these long runs on the track.
Well, welcome to Homestead-Miami. In 2 weeks, we're going to see the NASCAR stars for the second race of the round of 8 climb these high banks themselves, and I can assure you that if they want to abuse their tires, they will pay the price later in a run, and it's the same for these eNASCAR drivers.
And trying to settle in up front, DeYoung, Keister, and others. Graham Bolin, on the other hand, we talk about what the night has been like for the driver of the 48 machine. Started in 14th, and after some of that contact early, down in P22, he just can't get out of that part of the racetrack. Graham came into tonight in great position. That's the positive for him. 11th place finish at Bristol, a 5th place finish at Talladega. He's been better and more consistent than anybody else in this round of 10, but maybe a little bit nervous running back there in traffic as he'll go down to the inside of the 33 at Taylor Hurst and try to get back into the top 20.
Yeah, the concern for Graham Bolin is that there are other drivers in the back, Alan, but Graham has the newer tires on this A and B strategy situation. So when we say he's now just passing for the 20th position, he is 20th on this tire strategy.
Yeah, one of the worst amongst that strategy. So you're right, Steve. And we can see the points right there. He's still, despite the run he's having now, hopefully moving forward for his sake, but he's still +2. But again, all this could change with a change at the lead or another caution. Michael Conti making up 2 spots. It's changing with every few laps. But right now, Graham Bolin's still +2 for advancing to Phoenix.
That is the smallest of margins. And of course, Michael Conti, the driver who is trying to get after him. Conti sitting in 5th position, well in a spot to gain and or lose spots. Parker Retzlaff, talked about him when he started back in 30th on the same row as his teammate. Well, he's made some headway. He's just ahead of the aforementioned Graham Bolin. His number 6 machine is currently running in 19th position. You look it up at the 25, Ottinger, Novak, Vincent, Maines, and the cars on the fence in this case are Vincent and that 31 of Maine's up top. I mean, they are all the way up, and that's a tight squeeze as they race off at 2, and Parker gives it a bit of a stretch, tries to shake it loose on the back straightaway. Only 36 laps to go in this race.
It's always so much fun taking a look at these drivers. Some look like they're out on a Sunday drive, very calm body. Everyone's hands are pretty busy. But then we have Parker right here, and you can see the movement kind of rocking back and forth. It's so much fun watching all the expressions from all the different drivers.
And Parker's a noted real-world driver as well, so I wonder if that's what he looks like behind the cockpit on an asphalt track when he's out there.
This is what it looks like when you take the belts off.
And Corey Vincent just up the road. You saw the Coca-Cola freestyle on his machine. Vincent running just ahead in the number 15 spot, and it's so much fun to say. I'll say it again. You can see the Rick and Morty, Portal Time, Lemon Lime, and Fruity Land Fruit Punch paint scheme on that 3 car as well with Coca-Cola freestyle. And Corey, I'm sure, is aware of how fun the name of his car to say is, but it looks like it's fun to drive up top. He's been making moves, making headway. He's trying to get back up to the top 10 where he started. Again, this strategy really shook things up in the mid-pack, but Corey is working real tough up on the outside line. And how about that paint scheme? That is a bright Xfinity 36 of Brian Mercurio. He, on the other hand, with a little bit more work to do than I think he would enjoy. Still 22nd at the moment, but that's up 11 from where he started, so he wants a bit more as we have action on pit road. We see the 21 Machina Garrett Lowe down pit road. Derek Bordeaux and Hayden Honeycutt have also come down pit road this lap.
And Garrett in that 21, one of the playoff drivers, last in the standings right now, as you can see on the screen. Maybe a bit of short pitting, right? Trying to get those fast laps as early as he can and as fast as he can. Maybe cycles out a few positions, but it's got to do something, especially when you're losing time.
Well, and the issue is the drivers that chose not to come to pit road, there were 7 of them. They now have 50 or 51 laps on their fuel tank. Some came to pit road for tires and fuel. Some were just fuel only. But the 7 that stayed on the racetrack, they all need fuel to continue, and that's what you're seeing right here. Now they have to go out and use those new tires. With 32 to go, they're not going to be able to save tires. They're going to have to work very hard to get themselves back on the lead lap.
And the highest runner of those who stayed out is currently Dylan Alt and Alan Bowes, Cody Bias, that group. Or Alan Bowes and Bobby Zelensky, I should say, Cody Bias as well. They're all 29th on back. So the cars who came in to burn that extra set earlier have certainly reaped the benefits on this run, and the green flag stretch is playing into their strategy for the time being. There's a bit of 3 wide in the midfield. We've been taking a look at these cars over the last few laps, but well, Logan Clampett, he's been quiet tonight. He's coming up in the mix as well to the inside of Mullis and Vincent. They'll be 3 wide as they go off to 1 and 2. Still no additional takers on pit road, but we saw the ASUS race analysis giving us a fuel window of about 53 to 56 laps. These drivers would need 66 to go the distance, so it looks like likely we're going to be seeing everybody down pit road should this stay green.
And this is why we love this track, right? For some of these drivers, 35 plus laps on the tires, but the track's still offering different options of getting around, of using what you have on the car underneath you, and having the options of going high, going low, or heck, even going 3 wide, 30 plus laps into a tire run. That's why everyone loves Homestead-Miami Speedway and why it's crowned so many champions.
Yeah, and the drivers off pit road are instantly 2 seconds faster than the leaders. So, 32-second laps, it's going to take about 10 to 15 laps to probably run the leader down and go by him. So even if you think you could stretch it that extra 10 laps on fuel, I think your pace would have to be so far off, James, that you would lose too much time trying. But what are you hearing from all of these leaders?
What I'm hearing is a very concerned Graham Pullen and Michael Conti beginning to ask, who are we racing on the cut line, and being told about one another. Bolin said that he thinks we're going to have to save a little bit of fuel, but his crew told him that, yes, they're running the line, but they're faster than the cars around them and making up time, making up points if they need to give up a little bit to make sure they make it to the end. Meanwhile, Michael Conti thinks he's half a lap to the good. I hope they continue to fall off, though, because there's not much else I have in terms of pace, and they are constantly both asking their crews for updates on where the other is, so these two know that they're fighting for that last spot.
When you see them -1 above the line and +1 above, -1 below.
And that's going to go all the way to the end of this race, but a final pit cycle still awaits. For the time being, Steven Wilson leading at Homestead-Miami, trying to punch his ticket to the Championship 4.
Welcome to fabulous Las Vegas. Whatever got you this far wasn't luck. It was work, struggle, sacrifice, ambition that burned like pure fire.
Oh, he goes! Oh, we're gonna spin the 24.
So what do you say, fellas? Like your odds?
Oh my God!
The NASCAR playoffs continue at Las Vegas on NBC.
Dirt Racing is available now.
But it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father.
Way to go.
The iRacing community has been a big part of my life for many, many years. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, and by Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR, and by Logitech. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
A battle continues as we are inside of the final 25 laps from iRacing's virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. Right now, take a look at the action that includes number 9 of Michael Guest, now getting ahead of both Michael Conti and Mitchell DeYoung. These drivers are on the same strategy, so clearly pushing hard to get up front early in the run, hurting Conti and DeYoung late because they have slipped now outside of the top 4. And at the very front of the field, Casey Kerwin has cycled through to the race lead. So you see those changes reflected in the live points on the left-hand side of your screen. It is now Kerwin back to the top, Wilson and Bolin in. And Conti still looking at a -3, so that gap has grown as Michael Conti has lost spots, and you see the 88 passing him there. That will not be one for position. That teammate Brian LaPrade has been down for fresh tires. We've seen a handful of cars in, but still the vast majority has yet to come down. I think they're afraid of coming in now and getting stuck a lap down. They may ride this as long as they can now as we've hit 20 left.
And as we heard from James, I mean, Michael Conti has to worry about getting positions, but maybe, possibly, also the back end of a fuel run. You have to finish, right, to have any shot of advancing. So if there's an issue of maybe slowing down the pace a little bit or worrying about fuel, that's something you have to start thinking about long time ago, not with 10 or so laps to go, Steve. Fuel, if that's an issue, that has to be planned out.
Absolutely, Alan. You know, the driver can help you some with fuel conservation, lifting a little bit early, using less brake, kind of rolling back to the throttle a little bit more patiently. But to your point, there aren't gallons to be saved late. You're going to have to save, an ounce or two at a time, lap after lap for a long run to try to save a real significant amount of fuel.
Watching the numbers again, everybody that is up front pitted 46 laps ago. That was on the most recent cycle, the yellow flag service. We had seen about 7 cars stay out at that point. That group of cars makes up the majority of those who have pitted. I believe only Liam Brotherton from that group of 7 has yet to come down pit road. As we jump back up towards the front, I want to remind you, we talked about this earlier, that in 2 weeks, when this eNASCAR champion is crowned at the NASCAR Hall in Charlotte, that they will be presented the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Championship Trophy. Of course, Dale has a vibrant history here on the iRacing service, including being the winner of the first ever race in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. That was back on February 9th, 2010. Since that point, he has been joined by 60 other race winners at iRacing's top level.
That list of winners is an impressive list. The list of champions even more impressive, and I'm excited to have Dale's name associated with that trophy. It's such a big supporter of sim racing. I think it's a well-deserving honor for him, and I think it's going to be an impressive trophy that we're going to see, and it's going to be a fun time. But there's even more racing, right? Round 2 of that college series is coming up next week between this race and the season finale.
Yeah, qualifying's underway now. You got 2 days left if you want to qualify into it, and then the race itself next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. For more information on the eNASCAR College iRacing Series presented by NASCAR League, you can also go to eNASCAR.com. For that, that's a cool one. It's all college-age students. They're racing representing their colleges and universities, and racing hoping to win some scholarship money. So it's fun, and you might see some familiar names that you've been watching here in the Coke Series and through the eNASCAR Road to Pro ladder in those races as well. And it's not limited to just the NASCAR ovals, because World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now for Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, as well as PS4 and PS5. You can learn more information as well as locate a retailer to make that purchase at worldofoutlaws.game.com.
Evan, I did a little first-hand research, and I've been ripping sliders all across Eldora.
Professional research. We appreciate the commitment.
Well, no problem. That's pretty impressive, Alan. I haven't done enough research myself to say I'm good at the game anymore, but I'm a little concerned because my college-bound son is really good at the game, so I'm confirming that he's actually going to class because he's getting pretty good at that World of Outlaw game.
He's schooling some of his friends at the game. That's what he's doing.
iRacing had a big part as well in developing that one, so it is a ton of fun. So if you got a console at home and want more info, make sure you pick that up and test out your skills on the dirt. We're jumping on board with the iRacing number 12 Ford of Derek Justice, coming off of turn number 4, chasing down one of the Jim Beaver Esports cars up the road. Derek's in 21st. He's trying to get 20th away from Blake Reynolds, who, he put that Travis Pastrana paint scheme on it a couple of weeks ago at Darlington, and he's just decided to stick it out, run it out. But look at the car blowing past both of them. That's Dylan Alt. That's what fresh tires looks like. Dylan Alt got freshies about 7 laps ago, blowing by. So again, we know there is time in fresh tires. The question is really, if these drivers are going to come down to the pit lane, how long do they wait to do so? A lot of playoff cars in limbo right now. You see those yellow, or the red playoff banners, I should say, highlighting all those playoff cars, and you got to wonder for Femi Olat, for Nick Ottinger, all these drivers who are in and around that bubble. Ottinger's down 6, Femi's down a bit of a larger margin at minus 18. What can they do with 12 laps to go to essentially win this race at this point?
Evan, I think this last 11 laps is going to shake everything up. Right now, currently, the leaders around 53, 54 laps on this tank of fuel. We thought they could run somewhere between 56 and 58, which means they need to find 7 laps of fuel if they're going to run this stint all the way out. And I believe that's the plan for Casey Kirwan, Stephen Wilson, Michael Guest, Colin Keister, the top 4 or 5. I think they are all going to try to stretch this, so watch those points closely. Get an idea of them now. You see plus 13, plus 6, and then minus 6 for Conti back in 7th position. There he is right there in the 8 car. It's so stressful to think that your opportunity for the playoffs is going to come down to how well you can save fuel, how well you can play this game of chess, as you see Conti, Malik Ray, and Bowling, and Mitchell DeYoung all there bundled together.
I almost wonder if you're Michael Conti, you're not going to pass enough cars to get those 6 points with the 48 there racing right next to you. Do you let off and just hope everyone runs out of fuel? I don't know. I'm just spitballing strategy here, but I'm looking for avenues for Michael Conti to advance because he's running out of them right now.
Well, I think you have to push the 48 to run out of gas. That's the key to fuel mileage racing is if you slow down, he'll slow down. He'll have no reason. He only has to match your rear bumper. So it's this very challenging situation as we see, and always focus Michael Conti, but I would say there's a little bit, I don't want to say it's concern, but definitely some focus here with 9 to go, making sure he understands the plan laid out.
And you're on board there with Graham Bolin, making his second career appearance in the playoffs, looking to make his first trip, though, to the Championship 4, and a little bit twitchy that time when he looked to the inside of Conti. And if he can get all the way around him, that'll just about do it between those two. Side by side they go in the fight for 6th and 7th. And Bolin on the inside will clear Michael Conti, James.
Yep, Conti just came over the radio and said, guys, we gave it all he had. Doesn't sound like he feels like he's got the pace to be able to get back around Bolin and back into the Championship 4. He needs a miracle, does Michael Conti at this stage, in order to have a shot to race in Charlotte.
-9 now. Once upon a time, guys, that was a gap of 1. It is not going Conti's way, and it's not even that Conti's dropped that far back. He's still 7th, maybe 8th, as Malik Ray is going to catch up to him now. Malik Ray going to make that pass, but really what this has come down to is a late race resurgence out of that 48, and a caution with 7 laps to go. And as the saying goes, this changes everything.
Casey Kerwin was feeling really good with a 2-second lead. We talk about teams that save tires, but this long run was so long that every team has a fresh set of tires to put on. I don't think anybody can gamble and stay out with 50-lap tires. It'd be a recipe for disaster. So I think this is getting ready to be a shootout on fresh tires. Who can make the right adjustments, who can get a little fortunate with the pit stop, and then just get all you can on the restart and try to find your way through traffic.
And we will see now as it comes down to execution on pit road. They have all been out there for some 60 laps since the last time they were in. So you know they're going to want to go for the fresh tires. This is the money stop. Now, Kerwin had a lapped car between him and Wilson, so Wilson not going to be right on his bumper. Will that little bit help? You also have to keep in mind that he's got the #1 pit stall. That could be huge for Casey Kerwin as well. The pit cycle going to determine the running order as we come down to the final restart in this race. And again, I don't think it's as much of a question as what the call will be, as much as it is, can you execute? Kerwin, you can see the right side tires up. He's going to go over to the left side. They're going to change 4. No, it's going to be a quick runoff now. 2 tires, and up front, Steven Wilson wins the race off pit road. Two-tire decision. Steven Wilson came down pit road second, and despite Casey Kerwin having that #1 pit stall, was able to beat him in the race off pit road. Now let's take a step back and see what caused all of this and why there was a yellow late in this race. You can see the number 6 machine all on his own. That's Parker Retzlaff and into the outside wall. Just got a little bit out of shape on his own, and you can see the right front of that race car is destroyed. So he tried to do his best to get it off track and use one of those road course roads down on the inside, but because he was considered off the racing surface, the caution has come out for the 6 of Retzlaff when he pulls over. And in one of the weirder yellows you will ever see, that is the reason why this race is going to have a late race restart. Wow.
An interesting call for 2 tires, gets Steven Wilson some track position. And if I'm looking at this correctly, and Evan, you're a little more efficient with this timing screen than I am, is it Vicente Salas, the first car on 4 tires?
Looking back, we got a whole lot of 2s, and Vicente is going to be the first on 4 in position 11. But let's talk with Steven Wilson, get his thoughts on making that call. He only spent 9.8 seconds in the box. That's why he was first off.
All right, Steven, 2 tires. It's going to be a shootout, maybe 2 or 3 laps to go. 4 tires seem to be way back in the 10th position. What are you thinking about your chances here?
Feeling good. Really happy that I got the lead there. I think that's going to be the most important part. We've taken 2 late race all year, so as long as I just do my job here, don't screw anything up. Don't have to win, just goal is to make the top 4, but definitely would like to win my way in if I can.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to let you get back focused to it. Good luck. It's going to be an exciting shootout.
Thank you.
Been quite a year for Steven Wilson so far. Yeah, I mean, he's trying to close this one out. A 3-time race winner, Steve. And he said he can points his way in, but, I mean, race car drivers always want that more, and you know he wants this win.
Well, you mentioned it. The 17th round, that's what this race is for the season. So we've seen a lot of races. And you saw his confidence. You heard his confidence right away. I've taken right sides before this year, and it's worked. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. It just seems like a really long run on those 2 tires, but these guys put in so much time in planning and prep, and I agree with him. Control of the race is key. We'll see if he can keep control on this restart.
We heard during Countdown to Green some drivers saying they did 1,000 laps of practice here. So to your point, Steve, they've done the research. They know what they're capable of. Steven Wilson leaning on that experience, leaning on what's worked, getting the wins at those other high-wear tracks. He knows what he's doing. That's why he's in the lead with 2 to go and has 3 wins on the season. Just has to finish the job here and get to the Phoenix. Get to Phoenix in that final 4.
But Evan, to your point, you know, we look at the 48 who's +6 over the 25 Ottinger. Ottinger's running 6th, the 48 running 5th. So the 48 in much the same location. Just don't lose positions. The 25 doesn't really have 6 to make unless he can win.
All you have to do is hold. The pace car off and in, inside regulation. 2 laps to go at Homestead, and green flag in the air. Wilson gets a good jump. He has the lead to turn 1. Kerwin trying to hang on to second behind, but Michael Guest going to make it side by side. Reckied behind. Caution flag is out. There's a couple of cars in the outside wall. Garrett Lowe is one of the drivers involved. You can see the 3 is in the fence as well, I believe. But playoff competitor Garrett Lowe involved in that accident also. So Lowe gets a piece. Vincent gets a piece at least. It was well behind your leaders, and that was not an attempt at a green white checker overtime finish because that was within regulations. So we don't burn one of our attempts, but that yellow flag there, number 4 on the night, will send us to eNASCAR overtime. Take a second look. It was well behind what we were watching. We were looking at Steven Wilson, who had successfully defended the race lead. He got the start that he wanted, but this all kicks off around Justice. That outside, a little bit slow out of the gates.
Yeah, a little bit of a stack up and then a big defensive move to the bottom and then just contact and up the track they go, collecting the playoff competitor of the 21. Really nowhere to go.
A lot of aggression at the back of the field there. Really, as we're focused on the front in the playoff field, good stuff. You know, stuff going on in the back is really changing the end of this race.
Far from the first time that we have seen cars go underneath each other, guys, in a run down to 1 at Homestead in a critical race. I mean, that inside is tempting in the NASCAR Cup Series and apparently also tempting here in eNASCAR. Doesn't matter where they are in the midfield. They were very aggressive there. Not a lot of give.
No, perhaps maybe more should have been considered. You know, at this point of the season, at this point of the race, with what's on the line for the other competitors, it's always easy when you're not the one in the heat of the battle, but you just love to see the rest of the competitors maybe have just a little bit more patience for some of the guys trying to figure out their playoff hopes. But either way, now we're going to get to see an overtime finish.
And of course, if you're tuning in late in this one, looking to catch the end of this Homestead 150, you are not going to want to miss in 2 weeks' time on October the 25th at 9 p.m. Eastern, virtually from iRacing's Phoenix Raceway, but on site at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we will crown the 2022 eNASCAR champion and award them the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Championship Trophy. It'll be the first time in series history that the champion is crowned at Phoenix. Phoenix will join Homestead, Charlotte, and Texas as the other finale sites that have happened through the years.
Man, I love the idea of in person, right, Alan? I think it's just going to add such a great, exciting. We're going to have some fans there. I know Dale Jr. is going to be there to present the trophy. It's going to be a lot of just a real exciting time for these drivers that have been able to race from the comfort of their rig in their own home. Now they're going to have that rig shipped to the Hall of Fame. It'll be the same controls, Evan, but it'll feel a little different with that live audience.
Yeah, that's the big thing in this, Alan, is that comfort is a huge part of sim racing. As we take a look at the rules for these green-white checkers, we'll have up to 3 attempts. This will be attempt number 1. Of course, if we get to the white, this race is official. If we get a yellow before then, we'll re-rack it and try it again. But, comfort's a big thing, right? We talk so much about how unique rigs are, but, I think just being in your home, in your space, is a big part of a driver's pre-race ritual as well. I think the opportunity to potentially bring their sim rig with them will help, but they're going to be well out of their comfort zone. And this is going to put a lot more pressure on drivers than they may be used to.
Absolutely, and it'll just another factor that drivers have to deal with. We know drivers' skills, whether it be with tire wear or at a short track or at a super speedway, but adaptability. How can they adapt to such a change in a live environment outside of what they've been racing? That's something we haven't measured and haven't seen throughout these first 17 rounds. Is that adaptability. Plus with the crowd there, they're going to be noisy. Maybe they'll be cheering everyone on. They'll hear our voices going on possibly. It'll be a different environment and the highest pressure possible. That's going to be exciting to watch.
I mean, it's good to get there. Worst case scenario, 4th place, you get 10 grand. Best case, $100,000 to the winner. Of course, if you want to join the iRacing community, for more information on how to start your iRacing career today, you can log on to iRacing.com for more information. So as they run now, Wilson, top of the playoff standings because he is leading this race. He came into tonight below the cut line. What that has done is it has moved everybody else down the running order, right? So you got Wilson leading, Kerwin in second. He can be fine in P2 there because he's 3rd in the points. And then Bolin sits 4th, only 4 points ahead of the 25 of Nick Ottinger. First attempt at an eNASCAR overtime restart on board with Ottinger. Green flag in the air, 2 laps to go, and it's a good jump again. Wilson leads to turn 1. Here comes Guest for second. In trouble behind, it's the 97 car into the outside wall. Issues for Logan Clampett. The 19 was involved as well. That is damage for Vicente Salas. In second time in a row. 1 and 2 is where it falls apart, and there is a lot of choice words from Vicente Salas being directed at Logan Clampett over the radio right now, so he must feel like he was wronged in that situation. We'll have to wait till we see the replay to be the judge of that.
Dare we say these cautions breeding cautions, Steve? We saw the end of the Roval in the real world on Sunday. Both you and I were there covering it down in the pits, up in the box. We're seeing the same thing here. The tight fields at the end causing some concern.
Yeah, and all these cautions are the hope that Michael Conti was looking for, sitting 11th, needing to make up a lot of points. But having 4 fresh tires, he just needs as many shots as this as possible. Let's take another look exactly what happened. I think it looks to me like Logan Clampett was taken 4 wide by the 5 car. The 19 of Vicente Salas wasn't sure that he was 4 wide, turned in like there was a place for the 97 to go. The only place I saw for the 97 to go was to check up. He couldn't move left. This would be a great look right here on top board of Bobby Zielinski. You're going to see it up there in the far left.
Yeah, I mean, nowhere to go. Couldn't go higher, couldn't go lower, and if you want to blame it on Clampett, I guess you could blame it on any one of the 5 to back out, right? I mean, they were all 5 wide.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Is I understand where Vicente's sitting, it feels and looks just like it was all Logan's fault, but there was a car to the left of Logan, and, you know, who has the right to be there? I mean, they're all side by side, some cars farther in position than others, but they've all worked their way to that position, and, I mean, that's just racing at its finest right there. I mean, that's what makes these restarts so stressful for all these playoff drivers.
Michael Conti was one of the drivers in that 5 wide, but he was not involved in the accident. He was able to clear it quicker on the outside of the racetrack. And talking about your top runners, Casey Kerwin on the front row in as the points sit. Alan, let's talk with him.
And Casey, you're joining us for another green-white checkered attempt here. What's it like being on the front row? We know you'd like the win, but obviously the goal is advancement. What's the mindset right now?
Yeah, just getting clean starts, getting to the gears. That's the goal. It's tough to time it up here, and Guest is lined up with Steven really well in the starts. So now we got Nick behind us on the top. He'll probably try and go top 3 wide off into 1, I would assume. But hopefully we can get a good enough start. We can roll the middle well. Yeah, I don't really know how it's all going to play out. It's obviously I like the position I was in about 5 laps prior to the yellow, and now it's going to be a bit chaotic. So hopefully we can just be smart, get a good start, and make it in.
Yeah, potentially just 2 laps away from one of those 4 spots at Phoenix. Good luck on this final restart.
Thank you.
Casey Kerwin trying to make it to the championship 4 in his first playoff appearance. We take another look at those live points, guys. Again, Wilson and Kerwin relatively interchangeable up front, right? They have points. If Casey goes to the race lead, he's already in as is. It could certainly drop Wilson down. That could be tight. But really, we're looking at the 48 here, guys. Let's talk scenarios, right? Graham Bolin really can't afford to lose a lot of positions here, right? He's running towards the front of the field. He doesn't want to give any up, but it more so comes down to where can that 25 get spots, right? Nick Ottinger is in 4th. Any combination of dropping 2 or gaining 2 between those guys is where we're most likely to see a change.
Well, and you heard it right there when Alan was talking to Casey. He knows that 25 is going to be looking 3 wide on the top down into turn 1, and that's really what it comes down to. Can the 25 time his run? Can he get to that right rear quarter panel of the 95? And how aggressive does the 95 want to be? Currently 10 above. Even if the 25 did move past him, he still has a handful of points, in the bank. So will the 95 defend? And then when you look back a little further, this 8 of Michael Conti, currently 10 or 11 below, running in the 11th position. He's going to need some help, and I just don't know if the playoff guys are going to help them or fight each other at this situation with what's on the line.
Matt Busa, somebody else in the mix. I mean, he's 16 back. He needs to win this race. I'm not going to say it's impossible from 9th on the running order, but certainly improbable. Same scenario for everybody else who's down double digits. If you're Conti, if you're the 75, the 79, the 23, the 21, you're going to need some chaos. You're going to need some wrecked race cars up the road because you're likely going to need to win this race if you're going to get the job done. We roll into attempt number 2 of 3 at an eNASCAR overtime restart. Wilson has been so good on the bottom. He'll take the green flag. 2 laps to go, and it's another great jump as he leaves the battle for second behind him.
Pretty lined up top and bottom as they kind of get 2 wide. You see climbing to the top right there. 3 wide now in the 3rd row. That's going to make it difficult for Ottinger to find space.
And that was DeYoung, Allen up on the outside. They touched. DeYoung gets sideways. It was contact with Ottinger. 4 wide, but they hang on. Wilson looking for the white flag. White flag in the air. This race is official. Bolin now trying to look to the inside. Still only 2 points to the good. Ottinger is under fire. Will he lose spots? He swings it on the outside. He's going to try to hang on. DeYoung with a spot to steal. Goes high in 3 and 4. But up front, Michael Guest going to be 2 car lengths short of Steven Wilson, who's going to win his 4th race of the season, and Wilson will fight for the eNASCAR title in 2022. Meanwhile, there is chaos behind as Graham Bolin crashed in turn number 4 on the last lap of this race. So while we can tell you that Steven Wilson advances to the championship 4, we do not know who will advance and join him and Bobby Zalenski, because there was a massive pileup behind them coming to the finish. Up front, though, this winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And now we can finally, as a group, take a collective exhale. What a finish, and we don't know the results quite yet.
Well earned.
We're going to watch and see what happened. Nick Ottinger is where this centers around. Remember, he was 2 points out coming into the final corner. Mitchell DeYoung about to pass him on the outside and seemingly slows down into center with 3 and 4. Bolin gets into him, guys, and there they go. That is a whole lot of playoff cars involved in a massive wreck coming to the start-finish line.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Ottinger, whether he just got out of the gas on purpose or whether his car wasn't driving like he had wanted, but he definitely stacks the 48 up and the big crash ensues.
And now it is a numbers game as the iRacing and eNASCAR officials are going to be the ones doing the math. Again, we can tell you, of course, Bobby Zalenski advancing to the championship 4. That was courtesy of a race win last week at the Talladega Superspeedway. That's going to be his 5th appearance in the championship 4. And how about Steven Wilson with the race win here tonight? Will go to the championship 4 for his first career time. Also, his 4th win of the year is more than anybody else in the Coke Series. And let's watch how he did it. The restart's a big part of it. This is coming to 2 to go.
Well, you see the jump. Just a great jump by the 10 car. Was never going to give up the position. That move right there is what won the 10 the race.
And as they fought for second behind eventual P2 finisher, Michael Guest got held up a little bit. He got through to second, but it was not in enough time. And Steven Wilson has won the Homestead 150. Let's go down trackside and talk with your race winner from Homestead-Miami Speedway and Championship 4 competitor, Steven Wilson.
Steven, first, congratulations. It was a great drive, a great 2-tire call, then a couple of restarts, a good jump on every restart, and then everything you needed to do. Congrats on the big win and the advancement to Phoenix.
Thank you, Steve. You know, at first I got to thank everyone who's got me here. Stuart Haas Racing, Strauss Esports, Dead Zone for the setup work, everyone at Smithfield, Simpson, Gear Wrench, everyone who's a part of this team. I also got to shout out my brother. He loaned me his computer for this week after I was having some issues, so I got to say thank you to him. Favorite brother, I guess I should say, as he would want me to. But yeah, it's just so awesome we'll be racing in Charlotte. Racing in Charlotte at Phoenix in 2 weeks.
Well, I don't know how your favorite brother's going to like it, but you might have to borrow that machine and take it all the way to the Hall of Fame. It worked well tonight. Talk about the pressure of these playoffs, though. It was a long day about tire conservation, a long, long run before the cautions finally came out at the end. How much were you playing tire strategy, and how hard were you pushing throughout the day?
Most of the time I was saving pretty good at the start of runs. At the last run when I was fighting with Mitchell, I was just trying to we had all those cars stay out. My first goal was to get in front of all of them and then worry about tires and fuel after that. And we had a really good car thanks to everyone at Dead Zone. I think if that race went green, I think we would have had second. Casey had me beat. But yeah, we got the caution, and that seemed to go my way a lot this year, and we just had the right strategy again.
Well, you need to just go your way one more time, man. Congratulations and good luck in a couple weeks. Live at the Hall of Fame, you'll be running the virtual Phoenix. It's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, thank you, C-Boys there.
Pretty exciting stuff to do it, and do it with a borrowed computer. Let's talk to our second place finisher, Michael Guest. Michael, it was crazy there. The green-white checkers, all of the different battles, really the whole day. Short runs, long runs, tire strategy. Congratulations on a solid run. Kind of give us the assessment of the day overall.
Yeah, I appreciate it. The first half of the race didn't go very well for me. I started decent in like 12th or something, but just off those wrecks, I got caught up in one of them, and then just untimely cautions put me back in the 30s. And luckily, we went green to the end there. I just saved my tires, and it got me right up to the front. And then, those last couple green-white checkers was just about surviving. I was really trying to get the win, of course, but I'm not the guy to full throttle someone when they're going for the playoff spot, so I'll take my P2 for now and keep going after it.
Well, I know it's been a decent year, just a little bit short of the playoffs, but with a good run here, it looks like you have a solid chance of kind of ending up there as that first guy on the outside looking in, but a decent year. Hopefully build on this, and you'll be back next year. Give it another go.
Appreciate it. The big green egg Mustang was real fast tonight. Looking forward to finishing it off with a good year.
All right, congratulations on another good run. Well, started the race on the pole. First pole, said he wasn't a very good qualifier, proved himself wrong, and then had an exciting finish to the race. Casey, take us through all of those restarts. Kind of hard to time it on the front row next to the leader, but I thought you were relatively successful getting the runs right.
Yeah, it was just tough, especially if Guest kind of got lined up with Steven pretty quick. They got up pretty far ahead, but yeah, thankfully, when that happened, Guest was very, very kind to us, let us have a lot of space to race. Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate. Obviously, if the caution never came out, we had it won. But if anyone's seen all of my wins in my career, it's never easy. It always comes down to like something on the last lap or something. So winning by 2 seconds just definitely wasn't going to be allowed. But yeah, once the caution came out, I knew we had to just probably take 2 to keep track position, and it would be chaotic at the end. So really, the only big worry was if somehow Ottinger or Mitchell could get up there and win, then we'd have to be kind of falling back on points. It'd be pretty tight with all of us up there. But thankfully, I knew as long as Steven was leading or Guest or someone, we should have been plenty safe. So, and thankfully, we got a good enough start at the end. We got away from the 3 wide chaos. So, yeah, it's crazy. I don't think it's sunk in yet, but to make the playoffs for the first time this year, I've never, across the board in iRacing, I've never had as good of a year as I've had. So to have a chance to go top it off with a championship at the Hall of Fame will be something that I won't forget. And yeah, hopefully we can come out on top.
All right, well, congrats on the pole. Congrats on a good, solid day. As you mentioned, had a chance to win until the late cautions got him. Casey Kerwin, your third place finisher today. And Evan, I think we're starting to get a little clearer picture of what exactly that Hall of Fame is going to look like here in a little bit.
Here is your 2022 eNASCAR Championship 4. We knew Zelensky, we knew Wilson. Casey Kerwin, the night of firsts, continues because he'll turn his first career playoff appearance into a Championship 4 appearance, and he will be joined by Graham Bolin in as well. So Zelensky, Wilson, Kerwin, and Bolin, those 4 will be live at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2 weeks' time, racing virtually at the Phoenix Raceway. The victor gets $100,000 worth of the more than $300,000 up for grabs.
What a field. We have Bobby Zelensky, the hottest driver maybe late in the season. Steven Wilson, the best overall with his 4 wins now on the season. Rounded out with Casey Kerwin, Graham Bolin. What a field we have for one race, $100,000.
I love it. 4 different organizations, different drivers, different manufacturers, different storylines to get here. As you said, Alan, it is going to be fun, and I can't wait to see it and see it in person from the virtual Phoenix Raceway, but live at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in a couple weeks.
And Steve, I can't help but to wonder, as we look forward to that race in 2 weeks' time on October the 25th, we're looking at Bolin, Kerwin, as well as Wilson, drivers who have never made an appearance in the Championship 4, versus Bobby Zelensky, who will be making his 5th Championship 4 appearance, but still in search of his first title. So how do we balance that? Is that inexperience almost good because you don't overthink it? Bobby's had cars there that could win it, didn't get the job done, versus a guy like Wilson who's never been there, but he's won more races than anybody else this season, right? It's interesting to see the balance across those 4.
Well, so the other thing to throw into the mix, and Alan talked about it earlier, is I know Bobby Zelensky has been in the race, but he hasn't been in this setup yet. Live at the Hall of Fame is going to feel different. The nerves are going to be different. It's one thing to think you had a shot to win a championship. And Bobby knows what it's like all those times he's lined up where he's fallen just a little short. But I believe even for Bobby, and definitely for the first time, guys, when they walk in the Hall of Fame in front of a live crowd, live production, Dale Jr. there in person, everything's going to feel just a little bit bigger, a little bit grander. It's excited to see how the four of them handle that in-person pressure that we haven't really seen all year.
And Casey Kerwin's from just down the road from Charlotte, so it sounds like he's going to be the only one with his home setup at the Hall of Fame.
That's
How
big.
much of a factor will that be? The comfortability, the adaptability, the other three drivers will have to work on in front of that live crowd. As you said, Steve, in front of Dale Jr., in front of that great hall that we're going to be at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. All of that little stuff will factor in. Can you put your blinders on? Can you focus on the goal at hand and winning the championship? That will be the ultimate question, and I cannot wait 2 weeks from now.
Should be a good one. There's three big ones. There's the experience, there's the pressure, and then there's your rig. Three big factors to look for as we crown a champion in 2 weeks' time. But until next time, that is it for us here tonight from iRacing's virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. So on behalf of our entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, for Coca-Cola, everybody behind the scenes on tonight's production staff, for our Countdown to Green crew, and for your broadcast team tonight. For James Pike on the pit road, for Alan Cavana, Steve Letarte, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate not only your race winner, Steven Wilson, but all of your championship four, because we will see you in 2 weeks' time at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, where we crown the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion. Good night from Homestead. We'll see you in Charlotte.